What's up, Marchers of Chaos? This is your Gamer Chaos, Gamer. We'll be talking about the fighting game Dissida and what they could do better for the next Dissida if they ever make one, which I doubt they ever would because the reviews is so bad. We're talking like Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite, except this is a little bit better than that, but that's the point. There's some stuff that, I think they could have took out, in the game. Like, try and make it online only. I think they should, number one, make it so there could be 2 players, so you could have just 2 controllers with your buds as well. And I wouldn't be focused on esport, because in order for something to become esport, it has to be played by a whole bunch of community. I don't think nothing's going to ever touch Tekken, Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, or anything like, or Super Smash Bros. Especially the fact now that Super Smash Bros. Has Sephiroth in it, there's not going to be no need for, for a Final Fantasy fighting game. So I think they should just focus on just making a fun fighter. That's number 1, I think. So there should be more diverse of that. They should also have more options too. So instead of just a 3x3, if you want to just do a 1-on-1, and just, and whether it's versus computer or when you're fighting another person with a controller or another person online, I think there should be 1-on-1 matches too. So that's another thing I think they could have worked on a whole lot when they made this. Another thing too, I think we need more new maps. Not just the basic maps from not just only getting the PSP maps, but the Dissida NT maps, but also just have like a lot more maps, and they could do that if they want to, especially now since we have PS5. They can actually get more maps now than they did before. And I'd like to see the Final Fantasy V Ghost Ship. That was actually one of my favorite maps in that game. I think it would be good to introduce the Final Fantasy V Ghost Ship as a map, except it'll have hazards. It'll have zombies and ghosts attacking you to do damage from you. And then the ships will sink, and then if you fall into the water, you automatically get, knocked out, so it'll go down on your bar, just to put some stage hazards in it. So, and besides that, I think the other stages I would possibly like, if they ever do a new Dissida game on the PS5, is I would also like Mount Golog from Final Fantasy 1. I would also like, what else do they have? The Magitech Factory in Final Fantasy VI, and Shinra Manor from Final Fantasy VII. I mean, besides bringing Ultimicia's Castle back, I also think they should bring the Fisherman's Horizons as a map for Final Fantasy VIII. But introduce stage hazards with that too, as well. So I think more stages would be nice. Even if they didn't have to sell it as DLC, I would buy all the stages. Although, I don't want it to be like $15 like the costumes were, the skins were. That was a terrible idea. Yeah, you get extra stuff with and you get icon and other things with the skin, but I think $15 is too steep for both their costumes. I think they need to go back to $4 or $5 per costume, or a set price for the season pass. But so when they do the stages, it should be the same way. I think at most I'd say a $3 price tag for each stage if they do DLC. Honestly, I'd rather just hope they start with more stages. We could use more stages in there, as well. I would also say Final Fantasy IX's Upside Down World, and I'm not talking about where you fight Kuja in the final boss, because that's a PSP. That's a PSP map. I'm talking about like before you get there, where you go upside down in the tower. I forget what that map's called, where you fight the secret boss Hades. So I think that would be, that'd be something to look into as well. And of course, I do want the arranged music tracks that come with the actual stage as well. I mean, you can put your own music, but it would be nice to have the music from the actual stage. I still like Final Fantasy V's Ghost Ship, and especially the music to Ghost Ship as well. So I think that'd be nice. But you know, I'd say new stages, but make it at a decent price. I wouldn't go with the $15. I think they overhyped Dissida NT. Not to mention, Dissida NT came out at the same time Dragon Ball Fighters came out, which Square Enix needs to learn their lesson because they did that with Strangers of Paradise when Elden Ring was coming out. Another inclusion I would like too, Final Fantasy 16. Let's include the characters from Final Fantasy 16. I want to include Clive as the hero character. But for the villain, I got two choices for the villain. And this could be anything. It could be Benedicta, because they're gonna choose the coolest looking victim. Villain. I can't talk right now. But villain. Well, technically Benedicta is the victim, but that's the point. Villain, yeah. I think the two villains I would like would be Benedicta or Barnabas. I can't see Hugo Kupka be anything because, well, he's a one-dimensional meathead like Azul Sorelli from Dirge of Cerberus. So I would go with, Benedicta or Barnabas. I'd say Barnabas would be better because Barnabas is, from what I played so far, I haven't finished Final Fantasy 16, but from what I played so far, he looks like he's mostly Clive's opposite. He even looks kind of like Clive. Plus them turning into summon forms, which that's gonna be kind of weird to summon while they turn into summon forms. But then again, the summon forms in Final Fantasy games are different than the actual summons. It's like when Caius turns into Bahamut. It's a complete different Bahamut than the Bahamut we all know. So they can keep their forms as well. And I hope they choose Benedicta because we need more women characters in the city NT. A little bit more representation would be nice as well. Now let's get into new characters. I have a long list. We need Leon from Final Fantasy 2. We already had a lot from Final Fantasy 6, so we need Leon from Final Fantasy 2. I think if we could do Red Mage for Final Fantasy 1's contender, as well as going to be Merilith only on the Mount Golug stage as a stage hazard. If they do stage hazards. But I would say Red Mage from Final Fantasy 1. I'd say Ferris from Final Fantasy 5. Don't get me wrong, I think Golub's cool too. And so is Bart's dad, I forgot, Dorgan. But I think Ferris would be a much better character for the Final Fantasy 5 representative. Just because, not only she's a cool pirate, but I loved her character. I fell more in love with her character than anybody else in Final Fantasy 5. In fact, she's actually the real reason why I play Final Fantasy V. And besides having more female characters, which I think more women characters are good. Just like I said, Benedicta possibly being the villain instead of Barnabas or Final Fantasy 16. I think Final Fantasy V's hero representative should, and I think we need to put some new hero representatives rather than just Cloud in them. I think we need to include the spin-offs as well. Because if this is going to be a big war against Spiritus, I think it'd be in the story. I think it'd be more effective to get the spin-offs as well. So, but besides that, I think the new heroes from Final Fantasy V should be Ferris. Plus, the story kind of revolves around her and her sister as much as it does Bart. She has much at stake as Bart's as well. Yeah, Goloof is the one who tries to stop X-Death. And don't get me wrong, Goloof would be a good character too, just in case they don't choose Ferris. But personally, if you ask me, I'd rather have Ferris be a fighter in the next Dissidia game. If they ever make this next Dissidia game, I hope they do, as well. Would be nice. And I'm trying to think of what else I would like. We already have Final Fantasy X representatives. I'd say get if you can find another Final Fantasy 14 representative, because it's probably going to still be the same team, which, to be honest, I really hope not, because they fumbled the city NT, but that's just my opinion, because like I said, they tried to make it into an e-sport, which, having the reputation, just having a reputation, for Final Fantasy 14 isn't going to be as effective as it's put out. I think they could have done more with the city NT. But besides that, getting back to the characters, I kind of got off track. I'm kind of hyper, if you don't know that, but I'm pretty sure you do. Another character I would like would be a new hero for Final Fantasy VII. Don't get me wrong, I would possibly think Vincent. Now, there could be two villain representatives, too. I think the representatives for the Final Fantasy VII villains, besides Sephiroth, it would never be Weiss. I'd say a close contender would probably be Rufus, because Rufus looks cool, and he actually does something. He actually fights, not turns into a form like Hojo. Or, I would also think Genesis, because Genesis is a lot like Sephiroth. He was a precursor to what Sephiroth was going to become. Not to mention, if we're going to have Zack as the hero contender for Materia's side, alongside Cloud, which I personally would like Vincent personally, just because I'm a Vincent fan, but I know they wouldn't do that. I think if anything, it'd be more Zack would be the new hero contender alongside Cloud and Tifa, because it makes sense since the game revolves around Cloud and Sephiroth, and Zack is a big part of Cloud and Sephiroth's life. As for Sephiroth did missions with Zack, and Zack died and gave Cloud the Buster Sword, and the rest is history. So if you're gonna put Zack in Dissida NT, I think it'd be much better to put Genesis as the villain, Spiritus, and it would make sense. I mean, Sephiroth had a justifiable evil to him because of the stuff that happened to him, but Genesis, well, went completely crazy and AWOL and just started a whole world war and crisis core. Because one, he was dying and he wanted Sephiroth's glory. Because he thought he was the hero in the book and not Sephiroth. He wanted to be the hero, which caused him to cause, a world war and crisis core. So I think really the chaotic spirit of Genesis would fit perfectly with Spiritus's goals. But like Genesis, I think we need to get, other villain, get other villain represented too. I think we need to get the female villain from Final Fantasy IV After Years. I forgot her name. The deity. We get Xande from Final Fantasy III. And I don't know I guess Gilgamesh was Final Fantasy V, but I don't think that would work very much. But I guess there's DLC. I could talk about DLC when that comes up. But, and I think Astus from Final Fantasy I would be the no Spiritus contender as well. Just because he was evil and he did sell his soul to Chaos, according to Strangers of Paradise. With the skins of Strangers of Paradise and the original. But, yeah, it's most likely going to be the original, because Dissida goes through the original continuity and nothing else. So I don't think that's going to be a huge thing in Dissida, whatever this is called. I think they need to add some new summons too. I think it'd be time to add Hades. This will be nice. Typhoon. Even like I said, side summons like that would be nice. Garuda. And not just only if they choose Benedicta, but I think a Garuda summon would work too. We need to put some new summons with our old standards as well. So this is what I think should be in the new Dissidia game if they ever make it. May the crystal be with you.